Some of the headlines. This is Democracy Now!, democracynow.org, The War and Peace Report. I'm Amy Goodman.
And I'm Juan Gonzalez. Welcome to all of our listeners and viewers around the country and around the world.
Well, Juan, following up on last week's Democracy Now! National broadcast exclusive, today you have a major revelation in your paper, the New York Daily News, about the shooting death of 68-year-old former Marine Kenneth Chamberlain Sr. in White Plains, New York.
Well, that's right, Amy. It's been a tightly kept secret, the identity of the White Plains officer who fatally shot Mr. Chamberlain. His name is Officer Anthony Carelli. In a shocking twist, the news has also learned that Carelli is due in court later this month in a federal police brutality case. Juris Hatter and Salome Hatter claim Carelli was the most brutal of the officers who beat and kicked them while they were handcuffed during a disorderly conduct arrest in 2008, calling them, quote, ragheads. Their parents are Jordanian immigrants. The brothers say Carelli beat Juris Hatter with a police baton, causing head and eye injuries while he was handcuffed to a pole in the police station. All charges against the brothers were later dismissed. They've now sued, alleging excessive force and federal civil rights violations. Meanwhile, the mayor of White Plains has finally offered his condolences to the family of Kenneth Chamberlain, the 68-year-old veteran fatally shot by police in his own home. Chamberlain, an African-American former Marine, was killed after police responded to a false alert from his medical pendant.
The officers broke down Chamberlain's door. They tasered him, then shot him dead. That was on November 19th, 2011. On Friday, more than 4 months later, and after the Democracy Now! Broadcast, White Plains Mayor Tom Roach issued a statement offering condolences to Chamberlain's family. The move came one day after Chamberlain's son, Kenneth Chamberlain Jr., publicly criticized Roach and other city officials for staying silent about the case for so long. Chamberlain's killing is expected to go before a grand jury in the coming weeks. In a letter to the Common Council of White Plains dated March 27th, Kenneth Chamberlain Jr. wrote, quote, "Although the district attorney's office has stated there will be a fair, honest, and complete investigation surrounding the events that took place on the morning of the 19th of November, it's extremely difficult for my family and I to put trust in a system that we feel has failed us already." Well, Democracy Now! Reached out to multiple officials in White Plains, including all 6 members of the Common Council and the office of Mayor Thomas Roach, but we did not receive a response to our interview requests. We also contacted the offices of White Plains Public Safety Commissioner David Chong and Police Chief James Bradley, as well as Westchester County District Attorney Janet DeFiore. None returned our calls. For more today, we are joined by Kenneth Chamberlain Jr. again, the son of Kenneth Chamberlain Sr., the victim, and by 2 of the family's attorneys. Mayo Bartlett is the former chief of the Bias Crimes Unit of the Westchester County District Attorney's Office and the former chair of the Westchester County Human Rights Commission. We are also joined by another of the family's attorneys, Abdulwali Muhammad. We welcome you all to Democracy Now! For people who did not hear the broadcast last week, Ken, can you summarize what happened to your father and then respond to what you have now heard in Juan Gonzalez's expose of who the police officer was who shot your father dead?
Well, a quick summary. My father accidentally triggered his life alert pendant one morning. The police, White Plains Police, responded to the home, supposedly to do a medical check to see if he was okay. He told them he was fine, yet they insisted that he open the door. When my father said that he knows his rights and he doesn't have to open the door, they began to bang on the door for over an hour, ultimately breaking the door down and shooting him and killing him.
And just to be clear, Life Aid, the medical alert company,
Yes.
When they heard the alarm that goes off from his pendant, maybe he rolled over in bed around 5 in the morning, they were the ones who called the police.
Correct. There's a 2-way box that sits in the house, and once it's triggered, someone from their central station will come over the box and ask and say, "Mr. Chamberlain, are you okay? You triggered your alarm." If they don't get a response, they're going to assume that there is a medical emergency and then automatically call for medical assistance. And that's what happened.
Well, police have insisted that the use of force was warranted, and they said that your father, Kenneth Chamberlain, was emotionally disturbed and had pulled a knife out on the officers. This is David Chong, Public Safety Commissioner in White Plains back then.
The officers first used an electronic taser, which was discharged, hit the victim, and had no effect. While the officers were retreating, the officers then used a shotgun, a beanbag shotgun.
That was Public Safety Commissioner of White Plains, David Chong, talking about what had happened. And in the Daily News, we did interview some residents who said that police had been there before because of apparently your father at different times had been yelling out previously. So the police claimed that they'd had a previous history of going to this house. Now that, of course, doesn't mean that excuses any way the actions they took. In fact, if they did feel that he had some kind of emotional problems, that would have required them to use extra care in how they were able to deal with it.
Mm-hmm. Well, they did say in the beginning, as they were putting their spin on it, that he is known to us, but they would never say how my father was known. So that could mean anything. You could see someone in the street several times and now they are known to you. But it never was specific on how they actually knew my father. So, and again, as you just said, because he's known, that isn't a justification for them to bust his door down and then allegedly, well, taser him, which we did see on the audio. I mean, on the video, excuse me.
Because there's a video on the taser gun.
Yes. So we did see that, but anything after that, we didn't see.
Now, this is very interesting, Mayo Bartlett. As we spoke yesterday, you talked about, so there's two records of this. There's the audio recording because of the box in your father's apartment. Life Aid records everything in the room once they're alerted by a medical attendant. And they call the police because he's not responding, and they say, this is not a criminal case. This is a medical emergency. Please get over there. Mayo Bartlett, you talked about the taser video. Were you able to see in the video once they took the doors off the hinges? And explain even how that happened.
Well, the police arrived. They immediately first did properly asked him, Mr. Chamberlain, whether he was all right. He said, I'm fine. And at that point, he seemed to be very rational and calm, and they asked him to open the door. He said, I don't want to open the door. I didn't call you, but I'm fine. Everything's okay. And the police refused to leave at that point, and they began banging on the door. And it's a steel door, so you can hear a very loud sound. The first time we heard the banging, it startles you. It almost makes you wonder where the shots are being fired at that point. And this is at 5 o'clock in the morning, and it's a 68-year-old man who didn't call them and wasn't expecting them to be there.
But who has a heart condition.
And who has a heart condition. And at that point, the taser video actually shows them outside. They use a device to actually pry that door off of its hinges. First, they break a lock, and the door's open what appears to be 5 or 6 inches, so it's cracked open. And by the time they finally are able to take that door off its hinges, after about an hour of continuous effort to do so, the door is taken off. You see through basically the vantage point of the taser, Mr. Chamberlain with no shirt on, with boxer shorts on, with both arms at his side, standing straight up. He doesn't say anything. He's not advancing toward the officers, and the officers don't say anything to him. They don't give him an opportunity to do anything. They don't tell him or ask him to put his hands up on the wall or to put his hands behind his head. They don't ask him to do anything. They immediately charge that taser, and you can see it light up, and then they discharge it in his direction. And that has to be outside of the use of protocol, the protocol for the use of force, which generally is a use of force escalation.
But then you hear something.
Not only that, but there's the issue of why, if you know that you're going to see someone who has a heart condition, why would you fire a taser at them?
I would definitely wonder why you would do that. I would think that there's certainly less deadly uses of force. But I think at that point, when he's standing there with his arms at his side and the boxer shorts and no shirt on, 68-year-old man, there's no need for use of force at all.
Then talk about what you hear on the taser video.
On that taser, well, you can see on the video, you see them, and you see Mr. Chamberlain standing what appears to be possibly 8, maybe even 10 feet away from them, and you can hear them, someone says, cut it off. And at that point, we believe that that means that they're aware that they are recording their actions. And at that point, the video and audio feed from the taser end.
Well, they think they're cutting off the recording of their actions, but in fact, Life Aid has that box in there, and they are recording absolutely everything that is going on.
Yes.
This goes to the issue of what you hear next. And Ken Chamberlain, Jr., again, if you could recount this. And this goes on before and after when they're pulling. This is even before they've taken the door off its hinges. What your father is saying to them.
You hear a number of things that my father is saying in the audio. One of the things you hear him is he's telling the officers repeatedly, I'm okay. I didn't call you. Why are you doing this to me? Please leave me alone. The officers are telling him pretty much no, that they want to get inside. He's saying, I'm a 68-year-old man with a heart condition. I know what you're going to do. You're going to come in here and you're going to kill me. You hear at one point one of the officers say, why would you think that? We're not going to do that. But he said, yes, you are. You have your guns out. Why do you have your guns out? Oh, you have a shield. Now, I'm thinking to myself...
What do you mean the shield?
A ballistic shield.
A full-body ballistic shield.
Yes. So you hear that. And I'll even go so far as to say that you even hear on there my father is referring to a black police officer that's there too when he says, black officer, why are you letting them do this to me? So these are some of the things that you hear in the audio. And again, you hear him give his sworn testimony on the audio.
What do you mean?
He says, my name is Kenneth Chamberlain, and this is my sworn testimony. White Plains police officers are going to come in here and kill me.
Now, and of course, we discussed as well that the use of a racial epithet at the time also is caught on tape.
Yes, yes. When he asked them, why are they doing this? Please don't do this to me. Why are you doing this? One of the officers say, I don't give a F, and then use the N-word and says, open the door. So I was very clear in the beginning when all of this happened that I wasn't trying to turn this into any type of racially motivated killing until we heard the audio. Then and only then did I bring that up and say, okay, because, I mean, any logical mind, if you hear that and then you say, well, what was the outcome? He was shot twice.
Well, interestingly, you know, as I yesterday was working on this story, trying to get as much information as I could, the law enforcement people, as we've discussed, have been totally tight-lipped. But there was an acknowledgement by some of them that that statement was a problem that they saw early on, but that they are now saying that they believe that, yes, that was uttered, but it was not uttered by any of the officers who directly went into someone else in the employ of the White Plains Police Department said that outside, but was not part of the group that went in. Now, obviously, that's what they're claiming. We don't know what the facts will show eventually, but it was clear that they had to know immediately and they did hear that tape early on, that they had a problem here with the officers that were going in there that they were going to have to deal with.
They knew that was a problem. But Mayo Bartlett, when you saw the transcript of what was said on this Life Aid recording, did you see this racial epithet?
What's troubling is, no, when we saw the transcripts of the recording, that racial epithet was not there. And it's additionally troubling to me that White Plains members of law enforcement are aware that they have an officer who uses this type of language with respect to the citizens of White Plains. And if you were to be employed in any other capacity, whether it was in the entertainment field or anywhere else, and you use a remark like that and you use disparaging comments like that, you lose your job. You are not out there still working with individuals. And if you're in the entertainment industry, people don't rely on you for their safety. We're talking about individuals who are employed by the public, that the public relies on to provide safety and to assist them in their time of need. And if that person has that type of bias in his or her heart, that individual has no place working for the city of White Plains.
Let's turn to the latest revelation. We're going to break for a moment, and then the piece that is in today's New York Daily News, Juan Gonzalez, the lead writer, exposing exactly who this police officer is who shot your father, Kenneth Chamberlain, dead. This is Democracy Now!, democracynow.org, the War and Peace Report. We continue with this conversation, Black in White Plains, the killing of Kenneth Chamberlain Sr. in a moment.